So I'm recording. I'm going to now go to Facebook Live. Go live. Okay.
It says meeting is now streaming live. I did it.
Nice. Excellent. So let me go in here and we'll let everybody in and then we'll get started. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope everybody. Yep. Nope, it's Tuesday. I normally do this on Thursday. So, well, it's quarantine time, so every day could be.
I actually questioned when you said it. I was like, is it Thursday?
Did I miss Wednesday? Yeah, those are the things that I think everybody's thinking at this point in life. So sorry. Happy Tuesday. My name is Lisa Opert. I'm a parent consultant with Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. We're here today with Amy. She is a speech pathologist, and she's going to kind of talk about how we can help our children maintain speech, or even how to kind of facilitate their goals and objectives at home in a fun way, not like skill and drill. So she's going to talk a little bit about that. So thanks everybody for coming out. Hope you guys are feeling good.
Yeah. All right.
Introduce yourself.
I am Amy Lapsis. I am a speech pathologist in Columbia Public Schools. I have been an SLP for 17 years. It takes me a little while. And I've worked anywhere from birth to death. So I have experience with all little ones and all the way up. But my true enjoyment is definitely I loved birth to 3, so I don't know, I'm gonna have to say kids. Kids. I love kids. I mean, I enjoyed working with adults. It was rewarding, but there's nothing that beats working with little ones. So hopefully we can all do that, but we'll see. So I have a few slides of different activities that you can work on for different topics and in everyday activities. So I'm gonna try and share my screen. Hopefully it works. Right. So the first one I have is water, because everyone is around water all summer, right? There's so many ways you can work on water. So each of my boxes here will have topics of things that you can kind of use to address different speech and language goals. So the first one's concepts. So wet versus dry. You could also work on different vocabulary. So wet, dry, spray, dump, fill, splash, puddle, jump, push, bath. You can really work on different vocabulary if you think about it. It's kind of those things that you're bringing your kid to the lake or into the pool. It's thinking about how do you enhance your language to work on the goals, but not let them know that you're working on them.
Yeah, like a trick.
Trick them into it. And then another one is following directions. So giving each other directions, such as fill up the small cup or water the pink flowers after you water the yellow ones. You know, give them a small little watering can and give them directions on what things that you want them to do with their watering can or with their bucket, with their shovel. Following directions. Easy as following one-step directions. You can do two-step directions.
Yeah.
So once they get the one step, add another one. See if they can do a two-step direction. Add in different concepts of before you fill the water, scoop the sand. You know, you can do different concepts with the following directions even to make it a little more complex. Just as you play, weave your child's goals into the play, such as modeling articulation sounds or using vocabulary words in a sentence. You know, one of the fun activities that I used to do in Birth to Three for water play was so simple, but kids loved it, was bringing different kinds of paintbrushes, and you can paint the house, you could paint the deck, you could paint the driveway, and it dries. And as soon as it's dry, you're painting something different. So that's a fun, easy one that you can do with no materials other than a paintbrush and a bucket of water.
That's a great idea. They have something like that. I don't know, have you ever been to Kid City?
Yeah, but probably not in 10 years.
Yeah, so Kid City, right out front, they have just a big piece of, it has to be plywood. It's like very thin, but it's just painted black, and kids go and they say, sign in here. And so kids with their paintbrushes, and kids will sit there for 20 minutes before they even get into the museum. I think it's mostly for when there's a big line, but that's a great idea. I never even thought about doing that outside.
Yeah, and kids love, I mean, if you let them paint the house or paint the deck chairs or go paint some rocks, and even like painting rocks can be a lot of fun because you're changing colors of, you know, you're seeing that there's sparkles in the rock, and, you know, when it dries, why does it look different? Why is the coloring different? What's happening? Why is it sparkly? What's reflecting off of the rock? So you can really go many different directions with water.
Very cool. And so easy to do.
It's so easy to do. So another self-explanatory one is bubbles. Like, everyone's got a pile of bubbles from someone's birthday party somewhere. You can work on concepts, up versus down, bubble versus pop, open versus close. Articulation, so what sound is your child working on? B for bubble, P for pop, or R for run, or the ch sound for chase. Practicing taking turns. So one really good one for getting kids to, I think they call it communication temptations is what I think I've heard it called before. So give your kid the bubble container with the top so tight that they can't get it off. So then they have to ask for help. So they're really, you're tempting them to communicate without saying, say open. Because a lot of kids are stubborn enough that when a mom or dad says, say open, they say nothing.
That's Milo, yeah.
So give them that opportunity for you to be quiet and for them to talk.
That, I think, is a really hard skill to learn as parents, because I feel like we're so quick to tell them like exactly how to say it and what to say and what articulation like should look like. And it was really hard for me to learn to wait them out.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to either solve the question and move on to the next thing. But like the waiting them out is a huge
Right.
skill. Yeah,
Right,
it's
definitely.
frustrating, but.
And it's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
Want to help your child. You want to be able to give them what you know they want or need.
Yeah.
It's really a learned skill, and it's not easy to wait a child out.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the only way you're going to get spontaneous language.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the one ticket to getting them to initiate a conversation, for them to ask for help, for them to make that initiation of a conversation.
And it could feel like a long time.
Oh, it can feel like a really long time.
Like you're waiting for that water outside that you just painted the house with to dry.
Right.
But,
and I've even had parents where I've said, count to 5 in your head. 5 isn't really that long. I'd rather you count to 10.
Yeah.
But count in your head, do something so that you're distracted so you don't fill it in, because that really is your natural instinct to fill it in.
Absolutely.
And they know you know what they want.
Yeah, they're like, why?
Right. I'm handing you the bubbles.
Yeah.
You know I want them opened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another one you can work on articulation. If they have certain sounds that they need to work on, every time you blow the bubbles, you make them say one of their sounds, one of their words with their sound. So that could be an artic activity too.
Awesome.
I do a lot of following directions with bubbles too. Let's clap the bubbles. Let's stomp the bubbles. What do you want me to do next with the bubbles? Tell me what I should do. Should I blow a big bubble or should I blow a little bubble? Should I blow lots of bubbles? So you can do a lot of different things with that. Next one, Natureplay. This is one of my favorites. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit story. My husband and I went to Australia for a Fund for Teachers grant. So we went to all different parts of Australia and looked at outdoor preschools that were learning outside. So they're on the beach, they're in the bush, they're truly outdoors for their education. And one of my favorite things that I saw them do was the kids had to go find things, whatever they wanted in the woods, and there were parameters of where they went, but they all had to go out and bring back something that they wanted to share. And then they all took turns telling a story using their materials. It was sticks, grass, leaves, like nothing that you needed to buy, nothing that was plastic, you know, it was all just stuff that was out in nature. So, I mean, they talked about setting. Who's the story about? Where is it happening? When's it happening? Who's in the story? So one of the things I have on here is articulation. You can name all the characters in your story based on the sound of what your child's working on. So if it's all S sounds, there's Sammy and Sandra and Samantha are all in your story. And, you know, you can work in feelings into that one. Like, okay, so there's a problem in the story. How do the characters feel? How are you going to solve that problem? But using all activity, like nature things, makes it such a different task than sitting down with a paper and pencil and writing a story, or sitting down and even like telling a story. When you have those materials, it gives them some ideas of where they can go. And it really takes it to a different level when they're taking turns too. Like, okay, you tell me 2 sentences with your materials. So they put some grass into their scene, and then the next kid puts a few sticks and says, okay, Sammy's climbing up the tree and gonna put the fire out, and someone else brings over some rocks that they throw onto the fire to put the fire out, you know? So it can be good for social skills too, where they're taking turns and building off of, they really have to listen to what their peers are saying or what you are saying, and then build on that. I like that one.
I love that idea of just being able to go out and just find me something.
Yeah, just go find something you find interesting. Like, and really it could be fun for almost any age. Like you can do that with different age groups, which is nice. You could have, you know, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 12-year-old that can all participate in that at the same time.
Very cool.
There's no restrictions on that based on age. So balls. Go get some tennis balls, bouncy balls, soccer balls, you know, work on different concepts, throw versus catch, roll versus stop, articulation, practicing taking turns, asking for balls that are out of reach. That's another one where you're not reading their cues on purpose so that they reach that ball that got kicked up onto the roof. So waiting for them to ask for help. And just kind of when you're thinking about it, that if the kid's younger, it might be just playing catch or throwing balls. But if a kid's older, it might be more complicated games that you can play and make up your own rules of what you're going to do with the balls. That's something my son could spend days like coming up with his own rules of how we're going to play.
Yeah.
And it has to be his rules, of course.
And then you have to remember all of them, which is
Oh, don't. And if something doesn't go his way, maybe he's going to change the rules on you.
Yeah. No, I was wrong when I made that first rule.
I don't think I want that rule anymore. Maybe we'll do a different rule. So this one kind of goes with the nature play one. So go to the park, go in your backyard, go on an exploration, find, look for things, discover, explore, play. One thing that I always kind of think about, especially for the younger kids, is expanding their sentences. So a kid says, look, water. And you can say, look, I see the water. You're not having them repeat you. You're not making them repeat you, but you're spontaneously modeling for them so that hopefully they say, look, I see water. You know, that they imitate you and say, oh, I can say that too. That's always something that I feel like is easily done with any activity, but it's not always something that's natural either, because you're often modeling new language for them and not really expanding on what they just said. So that goes back to the following a kid's lead, like what are they really interested in and what are they looking at? What did they just say? And really expand on what their spontaneous language is.
I think we started doing that. So at the very beginning of the closure, Milo had just started talking about when he turned 4 about. And by talking, I mean, you know, one word of what he wanted. What do you want? And he'd say, cereal. Or the big thing was that. So he would point to what he wanted. And then over time, he would say, so now I'll say, what do you want? And he'll say, Lucky Charms. And I say, okay. But when the shutdown first started and he was home all the time, we were so happy that he was talking in short sentences of saying, I want Lucky Charms, that we were just so over the moon. And then all of a sudden, those started sounding very demanding to us. So he would say, like, I want Lucky Charms. And I'd say, can I have Lucky Charms, please? And he'd look at me and just say, Lucky Charms. And I'd be like, okay. He didn't get it that time, but about a month later. So now I can look at him, and if he says, I want Lucky Charms, and I can just kind of look at him like, and he goes, can I have Lucky Charms, please? And it's just been like, I mean, it's taken a couple of months, but he really, I would say about 95% of the time will ask appropriately. And that's exactly what we did. We used like the natural, I knew what he was asking for, but now instead of him demanding and kind of sounding like he was angry about eating the snack, now he's just asking for it nicely. And he also,
that's something to really kind of also say as a parent, it's okay just because your language delayed child asked you for Lucky Charms, you can still say no.
Oh yeah. Oh, we say
it's
no.
still okay to.
And then he goes
to give them. Oh, well, no. Lucky Charms aren't a choice.
Yeah. Then he goes, oh no. Just like that. No, thank you. I'm gonna be
just like that. Well, I mean, and that's something, you know, do you want Cheerios or Kix? You can't have Lucky Charms, but do you want Cheerios or Kix? Giving kids choices can be another strategy. But when you said you were modeling, can I have Lucky Charms, please? And he didn't imitate that. Take it down a notch. So Lucky Charms, please. So you're showing him that he needs the rising intonation. He needs to ask the question. You want him to say please. You want him to still get the important part that he wanted Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
So kind of pull back if you see that you push too far. If it's too long of a sentence that your kid can't imitate yet, it's okay to pull back and model a shorter sentence.
It was almost like adding little bits every time as we did it. And you can, when he says, can I have, I think because that's how I had started it out, saying, can I have, and then him saying, Lucky Charms, please. And so he just, you can hear him just echoing like the, I can't remember the word of it, but like
Intonation
the
pattern of
intonation
it.
of the
Yeah.
voice. And yeah, so it's definitely funny because he'll be mad asking for something else because he does eat other things, the Lucky Charms, but not always. And he'll just, yeah, it's always very funny.
And that's one that you can, now that he's got the language, you can work on the intonation pattern now that he's got that language down. So
Very cool.
the last one I have is chalk. So I think of this one as long as you're having fun, they're having fun. So play, have fun with chalk, get messy, it's okay. I think in the beginning of COVID, my 11-year-old, which probably he would be horrified to hear that I asked him to draw with chalk on the driveway with me. But as soon as I started, he's like, wait, you're doing this? Okay, I guess I can do it too. So we drew a picture at the end of the driveway, and you can use chalk for pretty much any language goal. The one that I want to kind of draw your attention to is phonological awareness for this one. Draw pictures of different rhyming words, have them find the different pairs that are rhyming pairs. So draw a picture of a rat and a bat, a cat, and have them find all of the different pictures that you drew that were rhyming pairs. Or draw a cat and say, what can you draw that rhymes with cat? What makes a word rhyming? Is it the beginning of the sound, or the beginning of the word, or the end of the word? So you can kind of pretty much do anything with rhyming with chalk for sure. This can be a good one for telling stories. You can draw different pictures for different parts of the story. So this one you could go anywhere with. So
That's awesome. We love chalk. We like to draw, like we'll have them lay down and we'll draw a whole family. So we'll outline everyone. And then they have to label which parts of the face. So I'll say, okay, what do you need to draw? And he says, eyes, please. And then he goes and draws eyes and nose. So it's because that was one of his goals. He had one of his OT goals was to identify and draw 7 body parts. And they were listed out. So that's how we were kind of addressing that at home. And now he knows that. But now he also doesn't want, oh, that's him. He doesn't want to draw people. He wants to draw robots. So now robot arms and legs.
Yep.
I think
Did I stop sharing? I don't think I did.
Oh, no.
Let me pull up. How do you?
I think if you just hit share screen and then stop share.
I did it.
There we go. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah, so, gosh, what was the last thing you were just saying? So you could also do facial expressions. You could work on feelings with that one. Draw me a face. What does a happy face look like? What parts of your face change? Let me show you what my face looks like when I'm mad. What changed on my face? Let's draw that on our person.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I never even thought about that. We'll do that next time.
There you go. Next time.
He'll be drawing a sad face now.
He might be drawing a sad face now.
He's drawing a sad face.
I'm guessing your husband might be drawing a sad face now too. We've all been there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he's 5. He's little still, so you don't always get your way, and in this house, it's just how it goes. So there's 6 people that live here, and you can't always get what you want.
And sometimes there's no way to tell a 5-year-old, mommy's on a Zoom right now, you need to be quiet. Like, it is life. Thankfully, we're all here as parents, and we've all been there. We've all been there.
Well, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
Oh, great minds think alike. Speech is such an amazing skill when you really break it down into how to get the most out of kids. And so much of it, over time I've realized really is waiting them out and waiting to see. Eventually they're going to try to figure out some way to communicate, even for children that aren't verbal yet. They'll try to figure out some way. I remember just Milo pointing at something was so huge at first because he had never shown any interest in pointing it, because I always knew what he wanted too. I was always
Right.
like, oh man, this kid's really struggling. Let me just make it a little easier for him. Not thinking about
Right. Because
that.
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard as a parent to not give your kid what you know they want
Yeah.
or need.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Amy.
You're welcome.
We have, I think, a Thursday call this Thursday just to check in to see how families are doing. Any questions, feel free to come on Wednesday. We have our Spanish call on, no, I'm sorry, that's on Thursday. And our Spanish call with Keo and Adriana on Wednesdays at 4. Yeah, and I think that's about it.
Sounds
Guys,
good.
have a great week.
Thank you.
And we will see you soon. Amy, thank you so much for your time and sharing
You're welcome.
ideas.
Anytime.
Thank you. Have a great day,
Bye.
guys. Bye.